Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lawrence Muthoga. I look after startups for Amazon Web Services across sub-Saharan Africa. And today I'm here to talk about something fun, which is careers, right? And I wanted to focus on something slightly different. I'm not going to tell you which career to go for or where to head to. I think, especially in technology, and this will make sense by the time we finish this conversation, it's about the considerations, right? It's what's critical, what should you keep in mind as you pursue a career in technology. And why is this critical? It's because careers in technology are varied, they are ever changing. What's hot this year will not be hot next year, and things change so rapidly that in the last 5-10 years, what was the important thing or the critical thing to focus on is definitely not what we are focusing on right now. And so being able to understand how to tackle those changes, how to dive into those headwinds of change and be able to manage that, I think that's the critical thing to be aware of. And that's what I'll be focusing on today. It's the considerations for a career in technology. And let's jump in. So I'm joining you online. I'm unfortunately not able to join you in person, but I've had the pleasure of being part of this conference since the first one. So proud to be back, happy to be back. And this one is exciting for me because now we're looking at what the impact has been and what can you do with the power and the knowledge that you have at hand to decide the outcomes that you want for your future. And I think before we even talk about careers, let me share a bit about mine and where I come from and why this is very close to me. So I'm a developer by training. I did my computer science degree at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. You end up picking one of the two. And once I finished that, I joined Microsoft as an intern, where I was looking after the Office 365 business. Did that for about a year, pivoted into partner management for our Dynamics 365 partners across West, East, and Central Africa. So that was a really big jump for someone who had just come out of college, but it was a really exciting challenge. Did that again for about a year. And then I pivoted now to being a technical specialist for the same product. And I did that for a year. And after that, I joined Microsoft's For Africa team, where we were as a team engaging with developers and startups across Africa. And that was really, really exciting, right? It was about empowering developers, empowering startups, getting them engaged. And I held multiple roles in For Africa, but the one that stands out the most to me was the developer engagement piece, because I then went on to do that operating at a Middle Eastern Africa level, but still the focus being Africa. And then after that, I got a chance to pivot and I left my tech roots and now went into the business side, where I was the open source business lead for Middle East and Africa. Again, did that for a year. And after that, I was offered an opportunity to try out for the SQL team, where I took lead for about 6 months and decided it was time to go back and seek a new challenge outside of Microsoft. And so 2 years ago, I joined Amazon Web Services, where I'm back to talking to startups, and I think it's pretty exciting. So I spent 9 years at Microsoft. I spent 2 years so far at Amazon, and I wouldn't say I'm successful yet in my career. It's been an exciting career. I think this is just the beginning, right? I'm right in the middle of where I want to be, and I'm looking at where I want to get to. And so that's where I am. And the reason why career discussions are so critical for me is mine is kind of all over the place, right? When you look from outside, I've held about 9 different roles in 11 years. I've done different things. I've dealt with technology, I've written code, doing business. I'm technically a sales account manager at this point. And it's been full of change and ups and downs. And for me, that's been a very critical part of my journey, because I think the first thing that is a key consideration for your career as well is, what's your goal? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? How do you define success? what's the end goal for you? My end goal has always been to learn as much as I can and to do as much as I can with what I have. And I'm a big proponent of empowerment and enablement. And so I try and fuse what I have into one core package, which is technology skills, the ability to talk to developers and business people and empower them in their technology journey. And so all throughout my career, that has been true. And so while it may look like 9 different roles, it's almost exactly the same thing. It's about telling stories and empowering people to carry out their technology journey. And so when you look at your career and what you want to achieve, what is your end goal? And that's, I'd say, the first key consideration is what's the path you want to take? And as you start, it's okay to not be clear. It's okay to not have it all figured out. And that's fine, especially now as either you're leaving university or you've just freshly joined the workforce. Just keep an open mind, keep learning, keep trying new things. And that will crop up over and over again in today's conversation is try new things, keep learning, and find out what do you enjoy, what are you good at, and what can you try out, right? And that experimentation is more critical in technology than in any other career, by the way. I don't think there's any other single career that allows you to experiment as much as the technology world does. And I think that's what makes it exciting, is you can try out multiple things. So my first thought, the first consideration that I would tell you to keep in mind, number one, would be definitely being able to have an idea of what's the end goal, what do you want to do, where do you find enjoyment. Okay, so that's number one. Let's jump into number two. Number two ties in really well with number one because number two is education and specialization. Technology is really broad, right? Some of you enjoy writing code. You'll be developers. Amazing. Some of you may not like writing code, but you enjoy the complexity and the problem solving that comes with technology. So you might be looking at things like networking, consulting, web design, web development. You can pick anything, app development, etc., etc., etc. There are so many paths that you're looking at when it comes to a technology career. And here's the best part. There are paths that don't exist yet, which is, I think, pretty amazing. Like if you think about it, 5 years ago, AI prompt engineering was not a thing. It didn't exist. Now it does, and it will probably be there for another few years. And so the first critical thing when it comes to education and specialization is not what you learn, but it's learning to learn. So that way, when new technology comes out, or when new paradigms are created, you can easily learn them as well. If you look at what was hot or what is hot right now, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. 2-3 years ago, it was blockchain. 2-3 years before that, it was big data. A few years before that, it was cloud computing. A few years before that, it was core systems networking. Years before that, it was mainframes. Years before that, etc., etc., etc. The thing is, technology changes. That is inherent to technology. And so as you are looking at a career in tech, the most important thing is being able to understand how do you pick up things, how do you learn things, and knowing that the skills that you have today will have to evolve for tomorrow. You will have to learn new things, you will have to keep up, and you will have to keep changing. That may sound like a lot of work, but it really is not. Why? Because the fundamentals are the same. From the outset, it might look like, oh my God, I'll have to keep learning new things every 2-3 years. Yes. However, the fundamentals are the same. They never change. Computers still run on electricity as far as we know. Chips haven't really changed much. A lot of what we are seeing coming out now are improvements on the basic technology that we've been using for a while. If you understand the fundamentals of, it could be code, it could be programmatic design, it could be API operations, it could be networking, the fundamentals remain the same. If you're able to take those fundamentals and apply them to something new, then it's easier to learn faster. And for those of you who write code, I know you know this is true. If you've learned how classes work, object-oriented programming works. You take that in Java, you can apply it in C#. You take it from C#, you can apply it in Python. The only thing that changes is the syntax, but how you approach a problem is ideally the same. And that's the key thing, is as you dive deeper into the technologies that you'll be learning, or as you try new technologies, is a lot of the core is the same. So you're not changing what you've learned, you're actually just adding new layers of knowledge onto what you've already learned. And I personally think that's amazing, in that what you've learned today will probably remain true for quite a long time. However, the more information we have and the more people experiment and try and build new things, the better the technology becomes, right? So you're able to now move from classic programming into thinking about AI. The next big wave is probably going to be, I don't know, quantum computing. We're just starting that wave out, and who knows what that world looks like. But here's the thing, you're developers, you're technology people, and you'll have to be ready for that wave when it comes. So keep learning. Let's talk a bit about point number 2, which is specialization. Some of you will find joy in being generalists. That's okay. A generalist is someone who is kind of a jack of all trades. You know something about everything, and that's fine. Some of you will find joy in specializing, becoming really good at one thing or a couple of things and going really deep into them. Whichever path you choose, that's okay. Just be aware that with specialization, you narrow your field, you focus down into it, and you get really good at it, which means also the scope of the things that you can do is reduced. With generalists, it's the same problem, but in another way, where you have broad knowledge on many things, but since you have not specialized in one, you will have to deal with things at a surface level or provide information to people who need it. And there are career paths for both paths. If you're going hardcore development, you want to be a hardcore software engineer, go deep, pick a language, and focus on one narrow aspect of it, there will always be a place for people who do that. If you're a generalist and maybe you're wondering, hey, maybe I don't want to go too deep into one area, I would recommend a few things. One, always have at least one specialty. Have one thing that you're really good at. It may or may not be a technology field. It could be technology affiliated, right? So you might have generalist knowledge in technology, but you've specialized in problem solving, strategic engagement, etc., etc. And so you're able to fuse these skills together. So have one specialty if you're going to be a generalist. That would be my advice. And from what I've seen, that really helps, because it gives you an option, a very strong option, where you can say, this is my thing. I'm really good at this, but I'm also good at multiple other things as well. Look at what you need to specialize in. I'm not going to prescribe. Like I said, human beings are absolutely terrible at predictions, particularly about the future. So we don't know where technology is going right now. Like I said, AI is a hot thing. What will the next 4 or 5 years look like? Look at what's happening, see whether you find some passion and interest in what you're looking at. Maybe you love AI and that's the path you want to go into. Maybe you love design, you want to go into down that road. See what's happening in the market at that point and make a decision, make a call. Yeah, I'd say that's a second big consideration: education and specialization. Let's head down to number 3. Number 3 sits really close to my heart. Number 3 is community. Networking and community. I don't like networking. I think networking is a little too, there's a connotation of trying to get something from each other. But I love the aspect of community, especially for developers. Community is absolutely critical. Community is basically people coming together to achieve a common goal. And developer communities are really powerful in that you get like-minded people coming into the same space, teaching each other, training each other, and helping everybody grow. Why is it really critical to be part of a community? It could be a developer community, it could be any other community. It's critical in that one, it allows you to find other people within your space. You can ask them questions that you need answered. You can find people who are looking for your skills and your talent. You can showcase your talent and your skills within that community, thereby giving you an opportunity to actually shine. And we've seen instances of people going in, doing presentations at communities and being able to find the next step in their career. Community is absolutely critical to the growth and development of engineers in general. It's a really good place to go and learn from others, but it's also a really good place to go and build your own skills as well. You're able to understand, hey, what's happening in, for example, my region, what's happening in my locale, what's happening in the area around me, what are people who are pursuing this particular career also doing. And that is absolutely critical, because that way you're able to get foresight. You're able to see things before they happen because you're talking to the people who make it happen. And so if you don't have communities doing this already, please build them. Like, I don't know what you're waiting for. Build the communities. If you already have them, then good. Go in, learn, contribute, do some more. But communities also don't just have to be physical. You could also engage with online communities, especially if you're a developer. You have tools like GitHub where you have online open source communities. And the more you contribute to these open source tools, the more you're able to showcase your skills. And so you get the best of both worlds. You're able to see what's happening on one side and be able to give your skills back to the community members around you. And you're able to thereby raise each other up. Everybody is able to come in and help each other out. And I think that's absolutely critical. You could do professional networking, which I'll be very honest, I am absolutely terrible at. But it also really helps. It doesn't mean you have to go in there and be smooth, etc., etc. It could be as easy as going in, attending a session, and simply say hi to the people around you. Understand what do they do, what's their passion, what drives them, and it allows you to also again gain insight, because you are going to be able to see a world or a space and see into a space that you probably didn't know anything about. Because remember, the only way to get information is from other people. And if you're able to make it as easy as possible to go in and drive those conversations, then I think that is absolutely critical. Which brings me to point number 4, soft skills. And I know a lot of developers don't think much of soft skills, but trust you me, soft skills are absolutely critical to success in every career. Your ability to communicate, your ability to work with teams, your ability to collaborate with other people, your ability to problem solve, these are absolutely critical skills for anyone. And I say this particularly for developers because I know when you're used to solving problems yourself, you feel, they'll read the documentation. They shall go read the documentation. It is their problem. But think of it this way. There's only one way for you to get an idea that is in your head into someone else's head. And that is solid communication. You have to learn that. That is a skill. It is something that takes time. Being able to go in and convincingly share an idea, being able to deal with conflict. Because trust you me, it's always going to be rocky. You will have a few problems here and there. And being able to deal with that rationally and have good outcomes is an absolutely critical skill. Developers generally ignore this, which is kind of sad because I think developers are some of the world's largest problem solvers. And being able to go in, build something that's technological, and be able to give that idea over, share that idea with someone else, I think that's a blessing. And that's something that you can do a lot with. So build those soft skills, work with teams, challenge yourself, step outside your comfort zone. And I say this as a hardcore introvert. I love being in a quiet place by myself, playing my video games, watching my anime, as you can see in the back. I'm a hardcore introvert. But being able to communicate is a skill that I've had the chance to build over time, and it's taken me years of learning. And I'll challenge everyone. Go out there, learn to build those soft skills, challenge yourself, step outside your comfort zone, go meet people. And this is where community is absolutely critical. If maybe you've never done a presentation on stage, where else to start than with a community of people who actually like you and want to hear from you and want to learn from you? They can actually help you grow. Maybe you can go join Toastmasters, where you can actually go and learn how to do public speaking. Because remember, at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We share information, we engage with each other, and I think that is an amazing part of being human. So pick up those soft skills, manage them, grow them, and get better at it. And I think that for me is key consideration number 4. On to number 5. Number 5 is future trends. Where is the world going? I know I've already mentioned this, but this is absolutely critical. You need to know, is what I'm learning and what I'm doing relevant to this time and space? Because remember, not every place in the world is moving at the same speed technologically. And so it's very easy to look at what's happening in developed nations, the shift towards AI, etc., and say, oh yeah, that's where we should be going. But you need to ask yourself questions like, are the basics there? Are the fundamentals there? So I'll give you an example. Artificial intelligence requires a good amount of clean, solid data. For a lot of African countries, we just don't have that. And being able to create AI solutions requires that data to be in place. A lot of the solutions that are coming out of Africa right now are around the data, not necessarily around the artificial intelligence bit itself. Are we a step behind? Yes and no. In our context as Africa, I'd say we're ahead. We've leapfrogged. We are moving from paper processes to digital processes. We are not doing that slowly. We are actually moving very rapidly through that process. Another good example is mobile money, which I think is the world's best example of leapfrogging technology. We've moved from pure cash transactions all the way into providing and sharing money over mobile. We've skipped cards, and that way the evolution is actually moving faster. And so you have this very different context that you're dealing with. Things are different in different places. And so as you decide your career, look at where you are and where you want to be. And this could be career-wise and physically, right? Maybe you want to leave your country. Maybe you want to stay. Look at the context. What are the opportunities? What are the problems? What are the challenges? And how do you make the most out of that? It might not just be a future trend in terms of looking forward and seeing, oh, that's where the technology is headed. I'm going to throw all my eggs in that basket. It could be around looking at where are we right now and how do we get this particular problem to be solved and taken to the next step. It could be building what might be in other places really fundamental systems, but are absolutely critical for you. Things like digital governance, especially I'd say as a Kenyan, now that we are seeing a lot more of a shift towards digital services, is in some countries like Estonia, which have been doing this for years, that's basic, that's expected. Their government runs digitally, but in Kenya, that's a step. Now ask yourself, in Cameroon, what's the next step? How do you take what's already out there and build a roadmap that makes sense? Future trends are not just about what's way out there. It's not about quantum computing is on its way. You need to ask yourself, hey, have we solved our fundamental problems? What is out there that we can bring in? And build your own trend. Build contextual solutions that solve your problems. I'll pause there on those 5 key considerations, and let's talk about something that I think is really, really important and will bring this all to a close. So, as I close, I want us to bring this all together into 3 big things. I think the best determining factor for growth, especially as you leave university, you leave college, or you're just getting started, is going to be the 3 big E's: education, exposure, and experience. Those 3 are absolutely critical. Education, I think that's pretty obvious, right? Those are the skills you gain. And being able, again, remember, learn to learn. How do you gain more information about things? That is a skill that you must learn if you're going to stay in the technology space. So please pursue it. Number 2 is exposure. And this for me is really, really critical. You have to be able to put yourself in other places, see what is happening out there, expose yourself to more information, gain insight, go out there and learn as much as you can from other people who experience different things. Change your context. That is the best way for you to go in and gain a perspective, a new perspective. And if you're able to fuse that exposure and your education, guess what? You get new perspectives. You're able to see problems from a different light. You're able to see solutions that have worked in other places that with a little tweaking could work for you. And then last but not least is experience. Gain experience by building things, doing things. Go out there and actually challenge yourself. What you learn today in university will not carry you through 20 years of your career. What will carry you through that is the diligence to actually build upon your experiences, add on to your education, and give yourself new exposure to new things, new thoughts, new ideas, new people, and new situations. And if you're able to build upon your education, expose yourself to new ideas, new thoughts, new people, and last but not least is build that needed experience, I think you'll be very, very successful. And so as I bring this to a close, I want to say thank you so much for your time. I hope you've learned something. This has been really exciting to put together. Next time I'm in Cameroon, I'll definitely pass by, say hi. Thank you so much, Helen, and have a lovely day. Thank you. Bye.